Okay, so the next question, that's a big question that we get is, how much is this gonna cost? How do we determine that, and how do we know how our district compares cost-wise to other districts? So I've got to get into a little bit of tax terminology here, which is mill rate. Mill rate is the amount that a resident pays per $1,000 of property value. So why do we talk mill rates instead of total dollar levy? Because you can't compare districts of different sizes by total levy. You can't compare our total dollar levy to Green Bay. It's not fair. They're so much bigger than us. Their levy's gonna be much larger. You can't compare our levy to Wrightstown. They're so much smaller than us. Our levy's gonna be a lot bigger. But if we look at what the levy is per student, or what, as a property owner, what you're paying per $1,000, then you can compare different sized districts and see the tax burden on the district. So what mill rate does is it takes the total dollars that we're raising, the levy, dividing it by property value, multiplying it by 1,000. So you get a value per 1,000. And then what you can do then is do the math to figure out what it's gonna cost you. So if you have a $100,000 house, you're gonna multiply the mill rate by $100. If you have a $200,000 house, you're gonna multiply it by 200. And that'll give you the tax impact. So when we figure out mill rate, and we're gonna talk mill rates here, I just wanna make sure people understand what that term means and how that helps. So the mill rate, the big purpose of mill rate is to be able to provide a comparison to state averages or other districts to see the value you're getting, and to be able to help you determine what it means to you and your property taxes. Let's go to the next slide. So the estimated impact of this referendum is $1.68 in mill rate. So remember I said, if you multiply that by 100, that would be the cost for a $100,000 house. So if you own a property for $100,000, it's gonna be $168 per year. There aren't many $100,000 houses, if any, in this one. So if you're 200,000, you're gonna be $336 per year. And we wanna be clear on that. That's what the cost is gonna be per year. This is for 5 years. So for 5 years, that's what the cost will be. It doesn't build on each other each year. It's that amount incrementally each year that is added.
But to be clear, that is the most it would be.
The most it would
Because
be.
if you levy less, it's gonna be less.
Correct. If we levy less, it'll be less. And as property values increase, things like that can also, state gives us more aid, that can reduce that impact. There's a lot of things that can reduce that impact. So I always believe in giving the worst scenario on taxes so that no one comes back to me later and says, you said it was gonna cost me this much and it cost me this much. So we're estimating, trying to give you the total dollar cost. So as I said, this decreases as property values increase, decreases as state aid increases. So it gives us an idea of where we are. The most important fact that I think you need to know about is what's happened to your mill rate over the last 10 years. It's gone down and gone down significantly this year. So if this referendum passes, even with this dollar amount we just talked about, we're still below the 2018-19 mill rate that we had. So we've seen significant declines in our mill rate that we're still, 4 years away from where we were lower than. Why is that? It's not necessarily because of what we've done as a district, it's what the state's been doing. The focus of the state has been property tax relief. So they've given us more aid without giving us large increases in the revenue limit, so that becomes property tax relief. So what we're saying is, they've given us aid increases, and we're trying to use some of those aid increases to spend on education rather than do it all for property tax relief. So the bottom line is less than the 2018-19 mill rate. I think we have a graph that'll show you that. So what we have here, the blue bars are our district mill rate. The red line is the state average. So as I said before, we're spending less than the state average, so our mill rate is below the state average. And then if you look at this year right here, this is the current year levy, or current year mill rate. So our levy went down over $2 million this year. So all of you should have seen a decrease in your school district property taxes on your tax bill. Why was that? The state gave us a large increase in aid and gave us no increase in the revenue limit, so it becomes property tax. In effect, what they did is they gave us the inflationary increase for school spending without allowing us to spend it. So what we're asking to do is to be able to spend it, and that's what we're looking at. So then these last 5 bars are what happens to our mill rate if the referendum passes. And you see it goes down each year, and that's because we're assuming some property value increases and we're assuming some state aid increases in there. So once again, here's where we were just a couple years ago. Here's where this mill rate is. We're less than that. We're almost less than where we were 3 years ago.
And 5 years out, we're less than where we were last year.
Right, and you can just see this trend going down. State trend is going down also. So we're following the state trend, but we're going down faster than the state trend. So what I'm trying to emphasize is, as a community, we're getting a good value compared to the state for education. As Kurt mentioned, our state's doing well as far as educational results, but we're falling behind state spending. And this trend line is showing. So those are the things that are controlled by the state. We don't have a lot of say in that, other than through referendum. When we ask you if we can spend more, that's the only way we can control these numbers.